The time, the Boys of Tommen book series was very, very popular. See, it reminds me of Steve Sanders. Wow. Hey guys, it's me Hannah and welcome back to my channel. I apologize for how I look. It's summer, if you can tell. I'm tan and I was outside swimming in my swimming pool and I was tanning, so if I look kind of burnt and kind of tired, that's why. And I got my water here to rehydrate myself because I was out in the sun for about maybe like an hour and a half and I'm like really tired. But yeah, so I am back with another book review, and this book review is something I was not going to do a book review on this because it was long and is what struck to me the most, and it was laying right here with my AOAT Pops, but it's not there because I have it right here. So I am doing a book review on a book that has been on my mind since, let's just say, since March of this year, and that is Binding 13 and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. Hey guys, it's me Hannah. I'm editing this video, and so I thought I'd come on here and explain the warnings. I understand that I put them in the video already, but I feel like I didn't really get my point across. So I do want to say that before proceeding with this video, please know that this video will talk about parental abuse and bullying, because I am reviewing books 1 and 2 of the Boys of Tommen book series, and we all know that those book series you need to read with an open mind. So yeah, so I thought I'd come up here and pop on and say that. So anyway, before this intro drags on, let's continue with the video. So yeah, but before we get started, I do want to say that this video will talk about mentions of parental abuse, bullying, and all that sort of stuff. So if that is very triggering for you, then I would advise you to, I'm not going to be offended because I was a victim of bullying years ago. So I'm not going to be offended if you click off this video. You're more than welcome to if that is what makes you uncomfortable. So, but if you're going to keep watching, then I would watch this with an open mind. So yeah, that for 2 years I got into reading back in, actually it was when this book series, the Lovely series, basically I got back into reading when I read those books. And yeah, so I got into reading in September of 2022, and let's just say that at the time the Boys of Tommen book series was very, very popular, and I wanted to read it so bad, but I've heard a lot of controversy, like it's not good, it's good but I don't recommend it, it's overhyped on Book Talk. And so I listened to Book Talk when really I should not have listened to Book Talk, because believe it or not, I can't stop thinking about these two books, this one especially. Like, after reading these books, Johnny and Shannon have my heart, and I feel like I could relate to Shannon in so many ways, because believe it or not, I had a rough childhood, and so yeah, I'm not gonna get into that because I don't want to. That's not the purpose of this video. But anyway, so basically I'm gonna do a rundown on what each of these books, the summary of each of these books by best of my ability. So yeah, so Binding 13 follows the story of Shannon Lynch, who endures a terrible home life. Her father abuses her, parental abuse, and because of this she transferred and bullying. She encounters relentless bullying at about Ballyleg. I am so sorry if my Irish is not another hence why it took me a while to read these books. I have some Irish in my family tree, but I don't know the slang, so I apologize if my slang is horrible. But anyway, so she endures a lot of bullying at the Ballylagan Community School. And because of that, she has to transfer to Taunton College, which is where her friends Lizzie and Claire are. And they're, honestly, it's like any other cliche romance book and romance series. It's like a meet cute situation, because apparently Shannon would walk into class on her first day and Johnny hit her in the head with the rugby ball. And yeah, and I gotta look at my script. I can't read without script. I know my teacher, not getting off topic, but my teachers get mad at me when I read from script, and I try not to, and I can't help it. So anyway, so if that's why so I'm reading from a script. I got it written on my computer over here, so that's what I'm reading off of. Alright. So, and then throughout the book, she finds that Taunton College is her safe haven, and she feels safe at that school, and along with Lizzie and Claire and their friend group. So yeah, though this story, it had a lot of inappropriate adult humor. Like, I'm not gonna get into it, but I wouldn't say the spice of this is, I didn't really encounter any spice in this, which was really refreshing for once, if I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, so this story follows the friendship of Johnny and Shannon, while Keeping 13 is the continuation of Binding 13, which leads up to the romance of Johnny and Shannon. So yeah, so this book follows Shannon and Johnny's love story after a tragedy happened. I cannot talk today. I am so tired from tanning. But anyway, so let's try this again. No, this book follows Shannon and Johnny's love story after a tragic accident happened at the last book. I'm not going to spoil it for you. You should read it if you want to find out what happens. I'm not going to spoil it for you because that would be too much time for me. I don't have a lot of time. So anyway, so because of this, Shannon's dad goes MIA, which is kind of like missing in action. And yeah, and so again, my comprehension's not very good. I have it written here. Okay, I'm gonna be back until I get my, I'm ready. I think I'm ready. Okay, so this is a continuation of Binding 13, which followed Shannon and Johnny's love story and the tragic events that happened in this story. So, such as, bear with me guys, bear with me. Hopefully I got this down. Hopefully. I was been saying la 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 for a minute, trying to like get my, okay, anyway, so this book is a continuation of Binding 13. And this also follows right after the tragic accident that happened to Shannon. And because of that accident, Shannon ends up in hospital. And that's where her brother Darren comes in, and basically he tries to put the family back together, and he tries to keep their mom like sane because their father goes missing in action. And because of this worries Shannon because she's afraid that he's going to be after her and all that kind of stuff. And then later, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, I don't know what it's called, but I do know throughout the story the dad checks himself into a mental health institution, and he has like 30 days to get better, and then he gets out. Well, that's what happened in this one. And while Shannon was out with her friend Johnny, Gibbsy, and Claire, I think. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, or Lizzie, I don't know. This story's good, but it confuses the heck out of me. Anyway, so yeah, and because of this, Johnny confronts Shannon's dad, and then he goes, then we don't hear about him again until later, which we come to find out he gets out, he goes home, and he basically burns the house down, which kills him and Mother. Let's just say, when I read that, I was bawling my eyes out. Literally, I have a full Instagram story about it, but it's like so... That was my reaction. If you've seen Love Island USA or like any Love Island where they have like a dumping and they're like, that's me at that situation, like literally. Anyway, but this story has a happy ending at the end, which we find out that Johnny gets signed to play rugby for 7 weeks, and then yeah, everyone's happy at the end of this book. So yeah, I think hopefully they say 3rd time's a charm, and I feel like I got that on the 3rd try. So okay, so let's move on to our favorite moments. Believe it or not, I had a lot of favorite moments from reading these 2 books. In the first book, I loved how we got to see the relationship blossom between Johnny and Shannon. I love how they started out as friends first, which to me is very ideal very ideal in a healthy, committed relationship, if that makes sense. Like, I loved how we got to see their relationship blossom, and I also loved how we got to see. I also loved that. I just loved overall that he was there to save her, and unlike some boys in a situation like that, they'll just brush the girl off, but he didn't, which makes me kind of wow, if I'm going to be honest. Okay. Oh, and I also, I gotta mention, there was one scene in particular. I'm not gonna find it because it's gonna be a lot of time, and yeah. And I think it was in this book. But the banter between Gibbsy and Johnny, it's so funny that the whole entire time, I know he's not the face claim for Gibbsy on Book Talk, but if you haven't seen 90210 or Beverly Hills 90210, I used to be obsessed with that show. And I still am. But anyway, Gibbsy reminds me of Steve Sanders. Anyway, if I don't, look up Steve Sanders from 90210 and you will, and I don't know, it's like, I don't know, it's just to me, that's who Gibbsy reminds me of. It's Steve Sanders from 90210, and Johnny reminds me of Brandon Walsh, which is so funny because 90210 came out in 1990. And this takes place in the 2000s, like early 2000s, like, so funny. But yeah. Oh, and I also loved, in the second book, I also loved the cute moment between Johnny and Shannon's brothers. I thought it was really wholesome. I could not stop awing at this part. I was like, oh, like I could not stop awing, and I teared up, believe it or not. I just love how, yeah. And let's just say, when he was trying to get, I loved how he took them to McDonald's twice. That was really cute. I loved that one. I thought that one was really cute and very sweet, and I just loved that one. I thought that was really cool. Really cool, but really wholesome to see. And because all guys aren't like that, believe it or not. Well, the ones that I came across, they're not like that. But anyway, yeah. I cannot get over Johnny and Sean. Little Sean, I can't get over. That was so sweet. Oh, the ending when Johnny was leaving and he was saying bye to Sean. I wanted to cry. I'm crying now. Just think about that. Alright, other thoughts. Again, at the beginning, I thought this book was a lot different. I harshly misjudged this book back in, hold on. Let's just say I misjudged this book back in 2023, and I kind of wish I didn't. And then I saw it at our Walmart in somewhere in my hometown, and I saw the book at a Walmart, and I was like, no, this book is not gonna be good. It's gonna be filled with a bunch of trashy stuff, and a lot of the characters are gonna, and I don't really like books like that, so, but then I read Binding 13, and on my reading Kindle, and I was like, this book is actually really good, and I kind of wish I didn't harshly judge it. And because I don't have the patience to read such a long book, I actually read it. That's the funny part. I actually read the whole book, but it took me a month to finish, and I had to take my reading Kindle to work with me. But it was, let's just say, I read it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I read a long book. And believe it or not, these are pretty long. Like, I would read them if you have patience. Like, yeah. And another thing I want to mention is, throughout this whole book, I loved how we also got to see Shannon blossom from a scared little girl to a independent, strong woman who can stand up for herself. And that's why I love books that aren't overly romanced, because I feel like some authors pile the book with so much romance that we don't see the character grow. We don't see the character grow as the person. And I thought this book played a really good part in that, because at the beginning of the book, Shannon was very scared. She was bullied relentlessly. She endured so much trauma. And at the end, in the middle, she endured some trauma, but not. She learned to cope with it. And then at the end, she finds herself, finds her voice. And I don't think she would have done it if she had someone in her corner, and that someone was Johnny and his friends. Like, that's just me. Like, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I feel. And yeah. And the last part is, I recommend this book. I love this book, but I would say I would recommend it if you have the patience to read such a long book. Like, if you have the patience to read such a long book, both of these combined, I would say, yeah, go for it. But I also would not recommend this to a lot. This is young adult. Like, this did not feel very young adult, and because I've heard that young adult is for 12 to 15 or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just did not feel. Let's just say this had some stuff that no 12-year-old should be reading. Like, this book talked about parental abuse, bullying, had a lot of dirty jokes, had a lot of crude humor, and so, but I'm the same way with The Summer I Turned Pretty. Like, if you can grasp the understanding of alcohol and drugs and parental abuse and bullying and blah blah blah, then I don't think you have a problem. But I don't recommend it, because yeah, I don't know why these are young adult. They did not feel young adult, but I love them in general. I'm not a young adult, but I love them in general, so yeah. But yeah. But I also would not recommend it. If you are big on romance if you're a big romance reader, I would not recommend it, because in this book we don't see a lot of romance. It's just a friendship that blossoms between Johnny and Shannon, that we don't see a lot of relationships in this one. Yeah, there's some cute moments of Johnny and Shannon, but it's not romance. It's building up to that romance because of this book. This one is full of romance. So yeah. Would I recommend this book? Absolutely. And I usually annotate. You probably noticed I usually annotate my books when I do book reviews, but I did not for this one, because I could not annotate it. I guess because the words are so small that I didn't want to annotate it, and I didn't want to like ruin it, so I didn't really annotate it. But it was so good that I just forgot to annotate it. Just so you know. Alright, now, the final thing for this video, and then we'll wrap it up, and then I'll talk about some future uploads. Alright, so the ratings for these books. Binding 13, I give a 4.5. It's good, but it took me a while to finish and it took me a longer time to get into. And Keeping 13, I gave it a 5 star.